Lady, welcome to Conversation Starter. This is episode 12. Not much to talk about, but plenty to talk about. And this is why I'm there because all in all, week in, week out, and find that I don't want to go back. Vanam? I'm not the weekend.
No. So I'll be the no. The table and my car will be. That was
good.
Thank you now with the show.
That's a phone. I know, did I laugh, my daughter. No, mind you know, what's like so many pressure after a massive test match. Yes. Massive test match, boys, I asked so. Yeah, now they've been up. That was as an icebreaker, since so corner. Sure. Go see one interesting story about the day 2-7. That's me hard. So deal 2-7. So just to can the balance probably that don't know what makes sense and only during those times. So you know with the exodus of us, we're having a lot of Amachita. I mean Zafika or Mr. who's this Spillhouse. There are a lot of our players. So a number of guys have been gone from our age group, Pele Immatriculate 2009, you know, and even to the previous generation, Kengoku, Bola Machita out to 07, a lot of them had left, and then a lot of them had also decided to
remember that phase. I remember that.
And then also a lot of them had also stopped playing rugby. So abanye babe khona but no cool akasa Amachita yenzweni kodwa akabe la yeke rugby because I don't know either when it comes to the coaching but there was just at this
point they probably never had trust on who was left at the time
and ke nomntana umntana teenager you understand naleyo ke into masingahlele siyibeka nje kamathi so the story is nice. So I remember again I posted about this 2007 where we were playing against Ikri actually, right? So what's happening now is we're playing home, right? So first team even lost I think 2013 that game. Ace played first team 2-7.
No, they could
yes. 2013 Ace was the first team and 15. Oh, what did he prop Ace and 15? Now, so what happened was so Idale didn't have the under 16. So Idale the under 16 team. It was a stage
it's an open system back on 16%.
So there's a guy clear. Upafondini I think bezodlala nje namajita upholile uyabo but yabona thina xa thina the childhood trauma yethu yabona 07 mna kumbe the whole year I childhood trauma but on this one specifically now Kolisi for refits out of nowhere we're already getting pumped up. It's not that bamhlamba skill
sinisokola
namajita them so there's 16-year-olds get team here to Galo probably 1 or 2 18-year-olds and then Skalane namachita where friends even go reach lo khatha wena 19 ngela xesha yayipush but alamachita mfethu ayemadala nathi uyabo and yayibonakala lonto on the field. They didn't need to put Sia on. Ndikhumbula mna mfethu into yokuba ujuni umqinga lo wafaka ibhola ku scrum uzoqeka ibhola ku scrum hayi I think Namchita a deal why effective defender when it comes to Kolisi. There's probably a guy called Usadile Mkhotyane. I'm better than 2 feet. It was because no, I'm not saying because and these are folks who had no they had no right to be in the same rugby field as Kolisi, but as Nhlonda green field to from 4th team, 3rd team to 2nd team,
see, I played all these games.
Yeah, final fifths, fourths, thirds, seconds.
Same day.
Same day.
Shit.
I was better, bro. And mna ndibhemi ndiyabawela nayo kuphu rough pha.
Una 16 umsiyana.
Una 16 lonyaka.
Oh, udlala second.
Yasibhwanqa sonke. No, the thing is kaloku mamela yena he was 16 years.
Yeah, banazo bona.
Abafana 16 years.
Udlala second.
Waphela dlala seconds wo kaloku beats. What? Sakumla pha forts ento ngathi u19 no. Akona bana unenhloso. Ukuze manje lokhanya mvukela.
Zay old boy yam.
Wakunzima.
Why
And the thing is what later happened on 2009, Amachida ke first team found out the truth about what we were going through. Utera.
What we say about?
It was we said. However, zange wakithi zange sambonekilwa.
Ndandala ngoku.
Yethu ngafunda into.
Ile bendithetha ngayo last week ngithi hey azinzima ezamele.
Efuna kokunzima jonga ulift dog. Ulift guy. Bathi nakho. Wambona phela ungena kwirack. Okunzima. Hey no, asimandanga zanto zalandot. So, yeah, no, you could say from 2007 February yet man fucking 2009 ngoku but from 2007 year to Amachida started to understand the truth in 2009 because Ikray didn't have a team that in 2009 we should have beaten them. But my God, Landwana, you see I'm very I'm an E4
similar to I think it was Queens.
Umaso
However, cause havoc. And I felt that ngokundibukele matches eGraveyard. Awubuyela umjonga zomlando but actually ngula 2013 uthetha ngayo. La match ungafelanga basijiwe la match.
No, we should have lost that game. So then 2007, right? We lost 20 points to 13 and Ace Ulapo. Yeah, man, Ace was very dangerous, man, because he was a 15-year walk he broke forward.
Yes. When 15,
I last game at home.
Now 14 came by 22.
I think my motherfuckers, no, if I can be able to, how much 07, 07, but about that game came away in 2009 we lost 21, 19.
Wait, who Fox at that time? Say
Fox in 2009, 07,
No.
07, let's say called Fox. Fox here, what delay? Okay, I don't go Fox here.
That's never take by red.
Yeah, Fox uzonka because 2007 and 2008 ukona uzonka 2009 Fox thina ngo
but 2 years first year.
Yes.
No, that's
But also because also under 15 now we got introduced now and it's under 15.
Yeah, but later on in the season.
And the thing is when I'm Chitake, I think we was very underrated in terms of his defense Foxy when it comes to rugby brain. There's a reason why it was by coach because he knows how to read the game. When a pillar just on he's an athlete. And it's a foot to my 2009.
Sasha no sour.
Oh, team. It was on the team. Yeah.
But
but he was good.
No, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I want to listen from the top of the
in terms of Usama was an outright wing. And then because of Italian yakhe uzofaka wasenda. Yeah, understand. Now folks had always been in the midfield. So and saying I'm very takes time. It takes time. Also to do about and then it was gonna take time and Umchita yeah. Anyway, let's move.
That's about the episode. But anyways, that was that's a question the entire week since Monday,
Yeah.
you've been wilding out on same kind of stories.
Sure.
What did
That's this guy nigga me.
What did this mean week? I mean, it's
This week mean.
yeah, to you.
Listen, I think the reason why is when it comes to Uclear is that it wasn't necessarily an easy start for him when it comes to Iraq. Now, I also wanted to bring the conversation in terms of we've got stories, Tina. We always knew in Europe, but there's something special. But a number of the times where that have been really good at rugby, but it can't materialize in terms of where it comes to the professional life. I'll give you an example. Aussies, were really good, but at that particular time, SA rugby was. When it comes to color, it needs to be ubani, and what was really outstanding when it comes to Osia is that even though opinion in life where there'll be mistakes, it all comes back together where Umchita just gives off. And I think the reason why I was highlighting between Uhaini Kameya and Ukotsia, he has 28 test matches. The rest comes up Akuras. Now I need us to also understand in if Uclear should be because the test matches so it's a bit. He shouldn't be too far away from Epet.
He shouldn't be.
It's actually weird.
It can't be.
He has more test matches than
It
him.
can't be that Etsebeth has played 38 more games more than Lucia. 39 actually.
You get what I'm saying?
Nah.
You get what I'm saying? So the reason why we just wanted to put this thing into context is Lomchita, when it comes to other people, when it comes to Iraq, schoolboy rugby, say has been about what how big it is, schoolboy rugby up. And for people to say he's the best schoolboy rugby they've ever seen, there's people that have seen my Bugendwano, or Nine here. There's like Andile Joe. Or Tembu, or Foxy Abba, we understand that no Tiger Backs. Like there's a lot of or Tates, like, and then Kolisi. So I love Chita la position no.
He's always
he's the real been the real deal for a very long time. So let fair to Morning Live or whatever show Morning Express first of all so and he's still so humble. He's still so humble, and it just shows us that you know what, Machita, where you believe, but like humility is what makes him so lovable. So that's why Lando
relatable as well.
Yes, relatable, cool, because we've got memories escala where Lomchida Vaisenza is and then still we are quasi Teta no Thierry Henry, and then we make a new Orocha Federal up. And that's what just makes him him, So it's massive. It's massive, And did you when I was a second, we are bona
As an All Black supporters.
I can't go 1918 ikagolo utamkhulu wami kumawonga ndithi ba uzile ngo1918 kwakumandela uyabona ngo1918 naye ngo91 kwazalwa mna kukhona usiya Kolisi. He's such a relatable guy, and also the way that it happened at a test match, but there's a bit of but Lamchita mfethu ngumntu and it really meant a lot to all of us, man.
But imagine what I like about him is that it seems to me that through adversity, Unchita always grows in a sense, because I would say between uwina 2019 no-2021 ibikhona laa nto uba
23
no-23 ibikhona laa nto uba nomsiyana unida nje ubuyela kulaa form simazi ekwazi type of thing, you understand? And kwenzeka eziways oba in his personal life yabo kwenzeka eziways oba umzekelo umjita abe kule nto kuyo yabo with family yakhe, then uyabona bana kwakwi-injury 2023, so yonke la period ibinzima.
Yes.
But imjonge ngoku, you understand? But mna probably i-career yakhe there's been amaxesha whereby I've seen the guy actually ndimbone uba yabona umsiyana ngoku no upha, you understand? Then abe khona amaxesha ndibona uba angumsiyana like uzawuyenza le nto funeka yenzile, but ngoku I feel like umsiyana upha upha like ihlobo ayidlala ngalo like he's matured so much in terms of as a role bone azinikwe ngorasi makazenze, not just as a captain but as a player ebalini. Like uyayibona sibali lamshita xa ingekho ebalini uba ikhona into eyenzekayo kwi-break time yethu engayenzekiyo xa nikhona. Like umzekelo laa nto uyithetha ngona ntsika ngo-Van Stadium, that mna nam uyabona xa ingekho lo mshita iyabonakala indawo uba lo mshita ikhona le nto ingenzekiyo belimayenzeka ngolu hlobo, you understand? So but Tatozi ndiyakulanda into yoba namna throughout i-career yakho umjita ne I would say eyona nto endiyiqapheleyo is that xa kucingwa uba akazukwazi uyenza into uyaexcela. As the first black Springbok captain yabona like ngoku i-rugby professional, you understand? Umjita funeka understand into yobana many doubted him.
100%.
Wawuzibona comments on Facebook or Twitter nantoni yabo kule country siphila kuyo, you understand? Obviously abantu bathe
ukuthi uyayika umenze captain mfana.
Wayimanifa kwenze phela
oyika.
But I can also, you know, when it comes to depending on Kotsi and different repel kakuhle yonke ndimamele so ndiqala pha ngento kaKotsi. I also want to put it like this in we also need to be very very fair in terms of how we look at things, right? Now Ukotsi, when he was in charge, right, you look at how, for instance, his staff sakhe that he was sneaky stuff that he's working with.
He never got to handpick.
100%. And number two, the players that he
once a team
I love the open. But I don't understand.
But I actually like that.
But once the doors team yakho sibali ingahedwa zi-Sharks province or the Bulls, uyayibona uba seyikhona ingxaki apha. I-Lions bra made up most of the squad in terms of numbers. Now yingxaki leyo sibali. Obviously, Rwanda bra.
But keep in mind that Lions will go all the way to semi-finals, finals with Super Rugby.
Yeah, but mnana kaloku masi lelo yakwe utatoza amachita amaninzi ngengela xesha esa squad amachita echisa ayine contract overseas la xesha engena 30k, so engakwazi ukupika njengoba engakwazi ukupikwa la amachita ne-30k sine awafuni uyodlala lezi ntwana because awakwazi ukupikwa la machita aqhele afuna udlala nawo bona. uDwayne awangafuni usidlalela futhi masiyithethe lona. uDwayne wahlala pha eFrance engafuni usidlalela ngenxa yoba engafuni uyodlalela ukuthi ineza chepo zaziphaya wayekwazi ukupika from zone. So he had very limited human resources in terms of the players.
Cool. So now you can imagine already saying, and actually as known more than anything else, I'm so happy that I'm Kate as captain, because why is I was doing this captain for no Strauss? I am so happy. But utetelela uElister Kutsia Matwata ne lamchita human resources wider, and it was going to be very risky for him Atiba already said Londo I pick the first black captain. It was not going to be easy for him.
Usiya waweza uhamba naye. Kai phuma yena izikho waweza uhamba naye.
No, whether it's France or anything like that, you know. But also to pendula but a lot of people he's been involved, what has been 12 years now is Springbok. Now, even about that was even earlier than that. You know, but he was a big name. Now, 100%. So that means, you know, let's not think that these people are they're not they're immune to pressure. No, kabantu na bumfetu. And for instance, I can't remember Nazanga the panel company one for 12 years. 12 years away. Yeah, understand. So, because about colonial pressure, we look up to him, to admires him, because about colonial, so as pressures that there's a reason why Uras is so good for the environment. But when it gets to their head, Akumus and you know, South Africa
is not the biggest thing.
South Africa, is the biggest thing in South Africa, and he's had people like that. Because take a black figure about my no ras, was your life. But that's why I always say, Balekila do bas mentorish. Conzeba, like Pacas light, by light on there. Bandre J, okay, sure. Carbonal pressure zobo is fika as inja in your bar, Waham France, Africa cares with France to about Kebin. Imagine ma Tina's bang out of see ya. You know, these are real life challenges now. Because he still needs to come here and he has moved in Yoruba. What's it about the environment that gets it right? Because they go to the Sharks. With Sharks. Belapa. World beaters. If it was 2022, the Springboks would have lost La Mecha Izor. Go, you know that they evolve and team and it's evolved so much. So Usi, as much as Naya he's evolving, there's certain things that probably would have gotten him down prior to 2025 more. So now Kula is in the water and that's how he was able to as Mwana, they don't just respect him as but respect nobody man. You know what, Dali.
And also that was when we decided to add I think Gogo there's a bigger responsibility for Springboks is winning because see we never come back to back. As long as if he's by I know we've had an unbeaten streak of 17 tests under Nick Mellet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and Ibali, you know, compared to
what we have now. So the streaks that we've had, right? It will be that 17 under Nick Mellet, and then there was that 2009 side. That 2009 Springbok side was insane. Yeah, because the thing we only lost.
Wasn't he the first colored coach or person of color?
Yeah, person of color. Yeah, he was the first. It was the first one.
It was a great team.
And no.
And beat the Lions and won it.
Yeah,
like that's
something. And he could have beaten the Lions 3-0.
He could have.
He could have beaten the Lions 3-0, but. What probably that
it has nothing to do with the rugby actually. It has to do with him.
Brian. But if we're being honest, Jordan, there's a reason why Zona's figure. Pimps probably would have had the same interview if we're in Little Pimp. Yeah, but
but the thing is, the pressures at the time.
But it's the situation at the time. The pressure like there
was not much liberty.
There is you know, no, some little crap of it. He could make.
I want to speak about yesterday's game. Just the box in general. Do you foresee the Team Garasi like playing with the sustained synergy throughout the next couple of years heading to World Cup? So I'm looking at the Itoye All Blacks. I'm looking at end of year tour. End of year games next year. Keep in mind, age just jumps with Lanayo as well.
I think it's very, very drama. It's a
master stroke.
It's a master stroke because what he's done is we've got about 45 players. 35 to 45 players that are getting game time. So what's happening is, as they making sure in the Yokuba, by 2027, because also he's making sure that they've got longevity, you know, and then he's also making sure in the Yokuba
how he's
they're getting caps as Duana. As well, getting caps because Sasha was at the figure of Sasha send 30 to 40 caps by World Cup. That's what you need. Now I can say do figure your own and then you have
26 caps.
Exactly.
Now I was shocked that man not 25.
Think about it in 2 years' time. Let me tell you, that was, you know, the way they are not under pressure to actually perform consistently. And you might look at it as but that's why Urasi was Fagate and Park as a chip. Was born as Pambi.
But Emily Win.
Caps.
And it was a way from there again. And
understand?
Jonga, opinion, apa ke ngone. Ingxaki sasinayo. 2023. Jema zanga wayepa upholati ne. Ndisablame kwabona oras. Lana bisenza kweme kulipok. Because if sichokile ba ulipok. Ulipok didn't have.
That's what I say.
They got 20 tests. They got 15 tests. And with life cycle ye player from which job in Yokuba, how often? So for instance, you look at Pollard. Pollard has had mares that Lomchida has had now. Pollard ain't easy team. John go back to about. So for instance, I say Dala go make you go to the bulls. Something I don't know. Overlap pass the advantage. So what I'm saying is, now, if we ever get to that place where we could be injured, Ulipok, could be injured, Upolat, Simnandi, grand.
We've actually never had that.
We've never had one.
We've never had that.
If Utementi Island injured, Simnandi. If Ukraine injured, Simnandi.
Nomsiana if angathwa unento
Jonga ngobe nezikhayo oxygen and one fender ngoku soba kubhowana kube khona le into. So when it comes to, we've got now 3 world class loose head props. We've got 5 or 6 hookers ngoku. We understand? Umbonambi is still very much there. Umbonambi mfeni onkwazi uvela ukuthi noba umkila kamkanga, he's still there.
Maintain kuni.
Usekhona usaphilile. Usaphilile umbonambi. Kwazi menza lonto. Kwazi. Never, because especially when it comes to when it comes to tight forwards, ne? When it comes to tight forwards, I can probably play until he's 80, but don't come out until like good late 30s, he can still make it to the World Cup. Because the thing is, Naglendo, Jonga, for instance,
also
udlale what you are grand Malcolm Marx.
Also with how we want to play with the narrative ya bomb squad beating at the pale, there's a reason why Uvilko Nicola Rola Niguayo, Thomas is starting more games. And then Thomas playing up to Isagala, Unganandota, you need to do it straight. Now that's how Ox is vagabond. One friend, non-8 balls, but skin camp. So Zamuguti, we are the same.
Now, that locks is we've got about 6 locks.
See, you look like a Marvin or see, you don't see it in my gag. I'll go back on an iPad.
Yeah, but I believe in you, but for us, Oregon, I was a buoy.
Exactly.
And we'll say Murad great game. I asked 2 class like Murad, Yabo, or star, rugby knowledge, or teeny. Like as chap was about to wear a kit or Muraz woman, Bogazuba, Kazoka sends mistakes. Hi, Pras, but no one can be has a lot to say or do. Utakamurati.
No,
Why Murati?
I don't think so. I think it has more to do with family to a very large extent. But we cannot say Umurati na test level, test standards in terms of abantu aba computer naye. Usemva. Asinokwazi uyinantsika le into ne.
What do you think men to physical?
But also remember,
when's the dark arts?
But also remember, Umurati will do your basics land bana ufita in the system like uzakuthumela like now tenses away like elangabona kapha into yenza. But then at the same time you must remember uba ke ngoku he's had that role from a young age. So ilanto besiyithethe eqaleni ba utakabane wayedlala ubani wayento ethile, you understand? So he's had that role of being captain ke province. Team is successful yonke lando ese schools ese under 20 ngoku Springboks. So he's always going to be there. Uzamane xa ku iJohn and nawe by captain Italy uzamane senzwa lando, you understand? He's always going to be there.
Makaye kuba because ube wenza orasi amaxoki ngolhlobo fethu u4 wethu consider ngo4 Baki sport.
Yes.
Yes. To some degree sifaka ngokunayo xa ingenayo sifaka ngubalelwana uArkhia.
But Daniel Rousseau could also do the job.
Not Daniel Rousseau. That was Peter Steph to do before we had Peter Steph. Daniel Rousseau. Hey, kalmalanga leyo. Hayi jonga mna nami yakugoba la no.
Akhumbule ke World Cup final bonini. Kwemboro koni
engikwethu makwethu mbamba. Have you lost my train of thought? Okay, Joe. Klando sitanga when it comes to number 4 B2. They always are imposing, physical, uncompromising. Umurat does not represent that type. Come on. We need to know the lumayo. We need to know the type. You know the yasba. How is it humanly or physically possible? Upaki Sporter, why Matt Stevens, A prop quiz scrum. I'm like, how do you go? How is this even possible? But they were making impossible things possible. Tell me in your bar you can go with
now,
that. No, So open umuzo wako jani nezela kanga sistray of Kakulu. I think we've got a side in your that can actually go 3-peat. But it also just depends in your bar with how games are going now. For instance, Izola truly feel in Yokba how it was adjudicated la meta Kalotia. For me, it was insane. How do you go immediate rate when there's mitigating factors in? How is that possible?
If like a bit upright,
I think this is just me thinking. They may have that kind of
Just the rapping, yeah.
Yeah. I think here we straight red.
So when there's a mitigating factor, I get that, right? But when he's on his knee, Ramos, that in itself, and you can also see the body language. Yeah, but it would have changed it to a 20-minute rate.
Okay, sure.
That would have changed a lot better. Because now, for us to go 40 odd minutes with 14 players, it takes international rugby. No, they made a decision.
And some calls were questionable.
No.
Especially when it came to Izindo, that could give you a card.
What's your guys' reaction to Urasi sacrificing Osi?
No, I think in Fetune, you had a test here. To understand that economy is sentiment around it. But Afnanga is a lose. Singasho banehlale imatch yonke kwathini but la situation besikuyo sibalene ibinitha ba sidlale ngohlobo luthile and all hlobo luthile unfortunately I think ba as a players ezafakwa ba sesawubona umahluko because we would have had to run with Usia on the wider channels umzekelo with Andre we make it tighter, you understand? Siqalisa ufuna ukhabela pha simole from noba simiphi na. You understand? siqalisa ngoku into bana esejonga instead of u9 simyeke uzujonga ndifuna ujonga la match second half pick and drive wethu ebenjani second half compared to first half.
Okay.
Ukopa sebeyikhupha bedisha same time but kusebenento ecothayo alindi umuntu ozawunantsika ozahamba nebhola then aphinda adlale uzojonga le phase lena besidlala ukuza qhawuka phela senze
yes
sare sathi 1 sathi 2 so as a chap sisa expect landi tight
John anfuna ilibalele train of thought kuyi ufuna ubuza nalo mbuzo ne ndizawuphendula uphendula lo mbuzo wakho ne ndifuna ubuza lo mbuzo how would you boys how would you have felt if Usia played 80 minutes per and we lost the game versus let's say he played the amount of minutes that he played
40 minutes
and 40 minutes and we won. Different ubuza msinyane lo
all right 40 wakhe
okay cool okay what's your thing
so
you know just the clock question je kala then something to see
so if we bedlale 8 but sikiwe
every 80 full on 80 minutes sikiwe versus let's say 40
I will always pick win.
okay
I will always pick win
also that was ena bendifuna kuyo la ba also look at landi bisenzwa ngosasha ne
yeah
ngokuphumela usiya now usasha wenza ntoni after ebemane mose bezama udlala first half yabo zama ufumana ithuba you understand but he was kicking most of the time you understand sometimes just before 22 yabo between 22 no 10 meter wethu okanye ayifake pha ku 22 wabo uyifake to an extent bade baye ku Kolisi bubuka wayiqaphela lo because the stage whereby iFrance yaye ku Kolisi
kodwa beke kwanzima kizolo
it was sifuna i-reaction yakho on ukusacrifice kwasiya at half time.
Yeah, definitely say it's exactly. So you know, when he came about Lindo, you were sacrifice to see him in Pambanis. Yeah, bo. Being Kolisi and Kolisi, yeah, bo. And I'd get emotional about it. However, I think the more the Manango Ifundi came, how they do things, so there would have been La Machida, in the unity particulars that they stick to a plan. For instance, if we may take Tuesday, Bani, next week now the game plan that was based on having 4 locks there and had a particular role for Spear Steph. Now they would have gone and but okay fine, if we get yellow card or red card, Msiana couldn't be any game plan. This is how you, because I think they're very operational in terms of how they do their things. So emotionally, I was not happy with Lando, like really not happy at all. But when I thought about it in terms of rugby wise and how
after the shape big classes up.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to straight.
Usi upumile
yeah
kanti ngeke realize then ziqale nami nalana ayisuka njani ngokunono
100.
Well, I think
but it's also about Lando of where he says in the Yokuba he wants to have not the best rugby players but the right rugby players there whereby I understand Yokuba how they're supposed to play. So Lomchita he's won us 2 World Cups. You know, he's operation Ashlion Uifumene nayo back to back, so I think he knows what he's doing. So the period is 2-2 and they'll show you, but I'm not happy, but I'm okay. So I would always take us winning. Then I promise you I would have been benza bangomnye umuntu namhlanje if besikiwe.
And he done
you know, that's how much it hurts. You know, that's how much
you
it hurts.
realize, Bana, in the past, it was not the same. But now they see the nation CEO in world rugby currently because we're the standard now.
We expect.
So it also bothers me the fact that Abana Basaboti all players still think that he upset.
We are upset. Gogo is moved from Indioba. We expected to win. All players. For instance, I don't think Eden Park.
Kuthiwa uPels wayiphila la game. Abethi waphela waphila wayifaka.
Yena mchita.
Waphila wayifaka.
Wandlalela lamchita mfethu. Wandlalela lamchita. Jonga yini? Amfumana nyani the next week. Ngoba bathi u40 andiyeke
310.
Zalo nayo video yakha imrecorder. Nayo video imrecorder apha. Yo mfethu andigezela athi we didn't pitch up because the first half we didn't pitch up at all. Andazi amajita noma mhlambi bibhlungu. It almost felt, can I tell you something? Like the performance here is almost felt like a mirror image of what happened because you saw how dominant they were in terms of and the urgency they had. Kwikanda rak hey Komba kwenzeka ntoni
ndiyibonile laa nto
bengekho grand
and by shape yethu on defense it seemed like besingekho sure nathi you understand uDamien ba uvala nini lamnyango you understand uChris bali ne kame idinayo la video khona video nayidlala ubonisa enye try iphume njani cha izobonakala xana uyijonge first hand uba isuka apha try yabona chip iyongena right yayobantu bayokora pa ibanjwe nguPhenone yeah
so university ngaba how incredible of a rugby player
exceptional
Damien
what an athlete
yo
Umjita, he understands his space, he understands time, we understand that about we high ball.
It's almost like he's got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
How chef?
I swear that when I step him.
Chef. Yeah.
So ila try leyana. Ugril ubethe urush ne. Lando yoba la we yabona mhlawumbe yethu ba siyahamba nesithi so then u13 ahlabele angle so we move with the ball then u13 ufuneka lando ethanda ukwenza ngomuthi uthi xa uqalisa bekuwe so ukhri nyani uphane akayenzanga hiyo kuphe izandla lanto yasikise eJapan kuphe izandla didenda icall izolo futhi
what did you say? Japan. Yeah. No, that's one line. I don't know. Include line kuikhupha basathi basikizanya zathi Japan.
Bo,
and this is where you have a problem with abantu krill indlela besikisa ngayo up. Now, for instance, the performance upola uLenano Sasha had izolo. Wasn't a performance where he has keys because we've got so many good players and performances like that will come. They will happen. I use my or Pollard have had those or Krill have had those sicky where he was the Brave Blossoms. That was awful, mate. That was awful. The must use the Brave Blossoms.
Boy, bra, I'm going to second and up bleeding after a Springbok game.
Can I tell you something? I was so happy in that question. Danson is divorced. Like is Springboks. Danson Pumil. Danson Pumil. One October. Puma ngathi uyabuya. And ngabuyi because kaloku amajita mfethu akumla mna ngela xesha. Jofoni the best hooker sasinayo ngela xesha. Angusiyabonga Ntubeni.
Yeah.
Siyabonga Ntubeni.
Bese khona sasizini.
Zanganuke, banjwe sibheke.
Yeah, he was in the squad actually.
He was so good. Siyabelo Sinatla. Siyabelo Sinatla mfethu would have been I think the guy that could have gone for records Gahapan, it's Netty. So Siyabelo mfethu Jonga, he was good.
Oh, you never pa.
He was good. And then go what?
But not bulk material maybe more. But every pa won batch on Bambik.
But Lela Classa Kuhankame. Graclas May as Glenelba, La Machita Mfed Obama. I found pressure ba I perform a barber. Yes. Zautalaza, Konozaiba
back up and you when that was them. Ileweka quickly burst onto the scene, Shali Sevens, Springbok circuit, yabo. Sooner rather than later, on a contract was somewhere. And then we are signed after I went to new tabs, Yes. After sevens, why the Bulls?
Yes,
because yes. After Bulls, why the Pocopo. So the Samukuti it's exactly the same thing. It's just that ithuba ngokukhethli ulifumene at the time esinatla esenzeza kwi-sevens ithuba zangalifumana.
Because mamela mayisenzisimanga ku-sevens usabela mfethu akakho umjita eSouth Africa owenzela nenzo ngisabela ku-sevens.
Umzekelo omhle NZ, a guy like Leroy Carter vela ku-sevens circuit lamjita yabo
Shoba ngizathi kuwo ngolhlobo
ikho yewani
siyabela sinatla try line name me a pedicure.
I can.
In-relationship,
No, I can.
Show, tell me. Ku-sevens.
In the camera I am.
Yeah.
Conversation starter, then wash.
I
want to talk about the other games. I think the biggest upset, Italy Wallabies.
Woo! I love it. Unduli. He's a Wallabies supporter.
But let's talk about
so we let down now.
when's the Andoli? Like coach
Joe Schmidt.
Joe Smith.
Yeah.
When's the Andoli because of Wallabies? And do you think Wallabies is killer in the span this year?
No, yeah, it shows you how competitive it is. Good rugby at the moment. I think now more than anything else, it's just showing how competitive international rugby is. Like so, the P.N.Z. game Finland says why ila 2011 to 2015 All Blacks that will never happen again. That will never ever happen again. I don't think it's necessarily on but there's a lot that's going on. We Wallabies wrong, right?
I saw the Wallabies Australia.
Okay, so Australia. Okay, sure, but
I got the PDS Wallabies.
Because the thing is, they also show us because the thing is also, and you know that we're not understanding touring and playing are two completely different things. Like, Springboks were able to at times dominate. Can be 1 year we Super Rugby or whatever, plus the Southern Hemisphere, and then go to the Northern Hemisphere. So good. I think Joe Schmidt is a very good coach still. However, I just so tightly contested the international rugby right now, fair too, because I mean, even if you look at the stats in terms of meters gained, they were double the Australia of what Italy was. The possession that they had was double. But it was about but sometimes when you've got that watertight defense, and I think what they scored 3 tries or 2, but Abonamandu that actually scored for Italy. Oh, another thing that we must say is that the players that scored for Italy were Australia born. Yes, Lord.
Interesting.
There is Iowani Korile Kwakora online. So Amachita Maninski are no longer getting the opportunities that they move. And which means in the Yokuba
captain of Scotland was also born in Australia.
100%. So it's telling you about, imagine how much Ipom squad if the longest players be sad for Bonapa. So that's why in City we're in a very position has been very peculiar in rugby, but at the very time it's we're blessed. In Yorkba we can pick anywhere in the world. We bring all that rugby IQ, and then our next best players are also they play against Leinster often. They play against Munster. They get zonke as experience of going abroad. How much they are on amanye abo.
Yeah, and also remember who came up with the idea initially of Bana. You must remember Uraskalo who came as a director of rugby. He came out with this thing of Bana. We are better suited playing in the Northern Hemisphere than Super Rugby because they fucked us over with COVID. We talks already, but it was more of land. How about Six Nations? Then for us, most exposure from that side to coaching master and all. So, in actual fact, the idea that Masiotali URC, Yindo Urasi, Msuta Petere here, and that's why we had to go and play beyond Lendobana. Sa collect in terms of bus. We super like that's not was what Sasile nation equalize. I mean COVID. We found a solution. But you can't tell me Bana the fact that we play RC, because if you look at Zonge's league, the closest thing you'll find to test rugby is Investec.
Yes.
Then after that, I would say the Premiership, the URC.
Yeah.
Closest thing you'll find at franchise level.
I think that top 14, top 14.
But like top 14 in like, landed like France. Most probably like we are going to win the World Cup. Landed flex to over offload and doesn't go.
But it's very physical, eh?
It's physical. It's entertaining. You understand? But until it just that was from a physical point of view, it's from how you win the game.
Sure.
The structure you play.
Okay.
It's much tighter in the URC and the Premiership. We are born by upper. Bayara Sibali Pana, Udalweza Wiz about Umdavela Bamba, sniper, Bezando says Uncle Pass. That's why Uncle Pass was Quinzalan. He played there for a very long time.
Yeah.
That's why I call Binala X Factor. He played there for a very long time. There's one thing you need to understand about it. You top 14. It's Pioneer is more about entertainment in France, more than anything else.
Okay.
Kuti rugby inesikhula nayo nabo mhlawumbe bakhula nayo, but for them it's entertainment yethu ayifani. Tina, we want to see you getting scrummed. Siyafuna thina ukubona scrum wasibale. Siyafuna ukubona ugilwa thina. Uyabo, sifuna ukubona ugilwa uyabo. So it's entertaining for us to see that. You understand? That's why kukhuzwa kwi-crowd zethu nobuphi in South Africa. But eFrance eza weyibana obuya nayo sinabo nathi neno kubo yilawo ibana how we actually scored the try. How entertaining was it? You understand? Sinabo nathi obuya nayo no individual brilliance zonke zinto. But itop 14 ubo uyijonga kakuhle. Inita amachita, amachita ne-X factors kakhulu. That's why they give big contracts for amachita njalo. Like uDwayne siyamazi ba exception uyayenza lewe. Siyamazi uKobe uyayenza lewe. That's why Usia did not become
that paper.
Yeah, become the player we expect because he's not that guy. Uza kwenza the basics very well. Game yakhe is much tighter. Uza protect ile rack yakho. You understand? Uza go forward momentum on the trams. So ndizama ukuthi I appreciate la way bona. Bafuna lando ka achieve bona. That's why achieve is flourish.
Okay, sure. Oh Lord man. Oh. Jonga nenye into that needs to still uza ubeka desakuphelwa ngento ye Wallabies there. You know that needs a study in Fetu is how we got to where we were. You know, when you're given full autonomy of rugby in South Africa, that's what he was given to us. Because because it's different when it comes to but when things happen, we are in the so
but also that was remember Urasi has been a consultant for the Springboks. You understand? So
Maybona it flows for a very long time, because if you ask a lot of the previous players, Machita, Azoteta, for instance, or Hilton Lopez, or Tendarai Chavanga, when they speak good things, but Rasi. These are oaks as Mnyama as Pillars Lafapa. But that's Teta Moras. You understand? So he's also understood it. Here's the other thing. He's also understood the flaws as Koyo in the system yet. Ocho Schmidt has no chance of we understand the system here because being open for that long. But with that being said, Amachita, Avano Joe Schmidt, remember Kutoba, you know what, Joe? What do you think is wrong with the Australian rugby? Kaskurul, for instance, definitely is probably one of the people Abate Nuba must be overseas. Because you wonder how it changed the game when they had a Will Skelton.
Jesus.
Yeah,
but also, how good was Eddie Jacobs? The difference is that he grew up in the Eastern Cape, right? So he played like with Dispatch, Uitenhage, PE. He played with the Blazing Yam. Some of the time. So when so I got exposed to Iraq to that extent. You understand?
General. Was a photo.
I got like that so but the shoulder I am fighting on the picture.
For them, that's me, probably the patron. Ute,
Befana players
lapha ubambene so up no nezinye players ngapha ubambene so babene wena usiye uzobamba ngapha yabaseleka ba oh yeah ay bona
Look,
enjoy body language.
guys, it's what I was watching the game here, Scotland, ne All Blacks. Halftime All Blacks basically lead 17-0. They're playing the game in 24-17.
Yeah,
what I want to ask, the game itself, but I want to ask about different what it is. Is always the right guy for the All Blacks?
Yes, he is. But John, if only link a lendo, Gubano, or better than but Mama said Tony Brown. I'm Tata good. Tony Brown, I will hear Tony Brown. I'm in Adam shit.
You know, Mungu, Mama, good. Tony Brown.
Now, we have to meet after him. A guy buff.
Theater international rugby, unfortunately, at the stage square.
A team.
I man, man. Is the right guy for the job, and at the same time, no understand it. That was a Kalimba. Italy Scotland as if I nangokiana. You understand? And you realization a band who can put those teams born under pressure to an extent whereby balance is an sitting. But is Scotland is balling okay, John, 12 All Blacks man, to buy a man. But at the same time, Jeng Beheflan one, who captain have 2 pilot. You understand? Kubano 30 being Bano 13 Wabison.
Bingo, Leicester fighting Loku, and then Bingo. And I think it was Hutchinson. I think it was Hutchinson. Hutchinson. So, so how Jonga send a perry, Ujonga fly half. Kukuban, Upoten, Finn Russell.
And so he was absent yesterday.
Yeah, sure, but in the Magafin Russell, he's only calling about this one. Nobody don't know. So, how Jonga's players, our was to test players as go even to Messi. So, is our fella playing about when was as Gabas as a team? Is I like his our fella? I feel like a canvas is all players. Ngokus Barigu, like I get Gumshita, Ubasins not strong. I get Gumshita always a no contract, no ban. I call them Gamashi as a man to pay no fun. So it's highly competitive.
When it comes to passion or plexing, I'll pay show.
So when it comes, firstly, Ureza, is he the right guy or not? There's never been a more perfect guy for the team here, All Blacks. Ureza, unfair deserves that job. I think he's done the inroads in terms of you're going to be familiar with in terms of it. Can't be they would have wanted him to have more international job experience, but then if he did that, maybe it's our team because maybe it's a but we are Puma for him to be able to get appointed.
Yeah.
So to answer the first question, that's that, right? And then is Scotland. I think the moment you're down 17-0 against the All Blacks in the first half, so you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah.
And then Kula second half, when they had momentum, they needed to be a lot more clinical. For instance, there's 2 tries that they let go per that could have changed the game. We understand, but you know that we cannot. They didn't help themselves in terms of how they started, and then lastly, you know, David McKenzie, Jesus. What a game. 50-22. Boom. And then Uzakora try what he did
to King
Horn Mfretu. mean, if we looked at the stats in terms of size difference, yeah, okay, abantu bangaza bathi ba okay fine, une-momentum begqitha umbambile mfethu wamthi. Wayemfaka ku-linesman.
I posted it.
You know, you there's a lot of things you go and ask yourself as a note after an injury. Okay, ngolo ikisile team yakhe. Yeah, mhlawumbe ngasibuza izinto kuba okay, because if mhlawumbe they just made sure they defend their line, All Blacks ingakori. Noma zikhabe u3. Lamachi they had enough to take the game away. The sad part about that is that Ngoku, you're not golden generation yamule. Now that they poor seed and land Razor gets better. Razor with this team will only get better. And how much they poor seed and land? Our pinam ke. Nkile Lando. And Lando and Italy. Like Italian job, that's what we needed from them. Unfortunately, they didn't. They didn't. So Kumu, Scotland only have themselves to blame.
We're playing Italy this coming weekend. What changes do you do to this team?
Guys,
very, very quickly. A team like him.
Ukwaka will change the game like that. But the thing is, in order, no one is more important to the team than the actual team. That's why because Ukwaka we mentioned here, because it's one of our biggest games this season there, and he'll probably make up for it against the island, and the island more than the island because he Craigers.
Yeah, that's last 5.
Yeah.
Because he Craigers island.
The colors Wales, you color Wales.
Wales, but he's in my friend knows I. My friend knows I. My friend knows I. Let's out in Nangogo. You play your Ethan Huko Kane and Muti against Italy. You have Amachita Ako. No Pola Gadla.
Ilanders are KF's Mr.
No Pola Gadla, man. I'm like 12 here.
Magabe Hotman, Kamalai.
I go 18, no Pola. I'm gonna go 90.
Yeah, but wasn't fucking about to but the Palcas boarding in Jessica Bacho. Because Italy was for 12. For Emmanuel up what 10. Born is Mang. Because Emmanuel like rap, you know, Mdana. No, Chopra, we want to when you pass it to Insula. They Cooper, I pass it to Kumuzola Kam. Like out in
Emmanuel.
I know, Emmanuel Vetu, Zara Blondwana, Kakbi. So,
also, I'm impressed with his kicking. I say, I'm marking all
yeah. Why not? Got 10-12 ratio. Let's get him fuck Poland Paga 12. Poland Mahafman
came time. If he can't take Italy, because I call it a try, Ulipok, and I'm Nick and sick. I'll come pull up in us again. Italy, a pie, what's a pie?
Oh, and then
and that's the guy I call right.
And get a cob and I will never be California. I can't dinner a pause and I pause.
Okay, I'm going to move on to his segments that is shown. Or Mbomber or the Bona.
Mbomber?
I'm winning against Japan.
That's like your Mbomber.
So maybe you get
packet.
Maybe he didn't packet.
I think that's a pie, it's like your pie.
Scares like your pie.
Such wish I got a fit on Sakumbula.
Scares like just old place. La 19 and by Nitro.
That's a your place.
That's a
like your pie.
1916.
That you got as a Croatia 15 against England behind the if a quicker kicks one stay in low match cameraman of I'm very not this very files Nabana akomlu perfect kura as long as like I'm so feeling menza lo Sasha naye
more
name fetu kaluma name fetu kwakhuza kumlo kwixesha where the New Zealand commentators ampaka Zati, when Sonny Bill got that ball running through straight, Moone State, he wanted absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and that's the other, guess, man. As it diminishes,
He wanted nothing to do with that.
as it diminishes, I
think it's a protector because the whole thing is well, don't get or he come on, if you have hate, for instance, if there's a mistakes, I'll say what corner, and I'm done with session until, but there's a mistakes, if Bezens were lip walk.
Yeah.
No longer get you South Africa.
Get two on Facebook or Twitter.
So I just feel in your bar, Nanga, especially fair and fair too. But won't get the same to what I thought because go impulse with you Ulster. The children are cool 100 Pollard, but next thing Robert must understand. Understand and don't.
Understand and don't. You see. But we are figuring we sustain.
Are you crazy?
Quite coach a partners, but of course this team say develop you. But how shall they rapid? So tell us this team.
I feel.
Okay, gents, let's talk about the funniest moment of the week. So that was up. It's you just highlight one play on any game that you watched.
I'm fit to. You could better like a copas right now. Let's try.
Oh, let's try.
Let's try a copas right now. I'm fit to Mamela. That is the quickest 35-year-old in world rugby. It's the instinct. It's how he did it. It's the moment that he did it. Because la match be balega la match.
And he knows the French. You understand? So we are has a moment in Queensland.
How well
he's actually scored similar tries. Get up 14. Engakayenzi kwiSpringbok but kwiBoks wayenza ngako Canada nento nje but ndizama ukuthi he's scored similar tries
wayenza lando for the good sharks on some sharks
avela athi lamjita hlap yokuthi intwana yenzayo lano kuGrant Williams Morse
waphinda wayenza nayizona
Morse that's yabona nana ingxaki xa isenza la we ucinga nyana anabi ngayifolela la we ucinga nyana yayiload la pass ivela nwana ikandikujonga ka ibindi kuyele ebholeni then ivele what hlap
a close second place there is like 50-22 ka Damien McKenzie. It changed the complexion of that game because la match were under the pump. McKenzie still won't gain up. I don't gain. Yes, man. Hey.
Give us your funniest moment of the week.
That's why I was no, bro. Like I won't lie, man. Ilena kakando ka Grant Williams kum. Ilanwana ingxaki more often than not ne. Xa sisengxakini iza kusenzela la. So bon engqondweni yami eEngland sasinida la try.
Yeah.
Now against All Blacks went the same thing that's right.
Against All Blacks sasinida la we. Against Nansikile si France inida.
Kodwa manje lega Copas Rena bese ngayinidi 40 down 14-6 down.
No uCopas untswembo ne.
Yeah, we went into half time in energy at least. Yeah.
What I'm trying to highlight is in the corner. Grant Williams, it has to do with things that happened prior to yesterday. Okay. Grant Williams, he's a player, but he's a
I to talk about things prior to what happened yesterday. Second, where is Izolo? Lega Williams.
Yes, because as much as a Copas League.
I think followers say to Mazivote whether it's gonna be Lega Williams because
Copas is more spectacular. I can agree with you on that one. But in the team kula game ya Izolo. Grant.
What minute did it happen, Lega Grant? And how did it change the goal?
It was second half, like almost 60th minute.
Yeah, it will be closer to 7, John.
And then they see the score.
I try level extend the scope to go
so let's take it.
Let's score. There's no money penalty as a chip. There's no money penalty. Zikhabe umzekelo.
Okay, but also
Grant.
Okay.
Because
we went from 1817 to 25. So that's how we built it.
No, there's no God is right. This is a win.
Okay, I don't feel.
Okay, this is now called the Biasha conversation. So in the landing is I'm gonna give you a player, a rater a guy you wash. So it makes a wash it from 1 to 5, depending on how they performed yesterday.
Okay, so much.
On Tamek, yesterday guy how many players for his performance?
3.5.
3.5 players. Now half he catch like what's the still is half.
It's a half, is that he was nowhere near how good he is, but at the same time, it could be back or a bit like he's to ban. You understand? But he must sue clear.
So you think about village pressure because Lano and Sasha?
Come on, that is Springboks.
Okay.
But Sasha
No, that is Springboks. The pressure is this Springboks, not Sasha.
This Springboks, nah. So yeah, so
Guy 3.5.
Tim guy 3.5. Yabo. Untamak is balimna. Manzinga maxesha ke nambone week. Unless wena thatha uzukubona.
Ndifuna ukuthi ne. No, you're right. But for Israel but you need 2 players.
2 players.
I need 2 players. Ngohlobo lokuba umuntu that was a massive game changer that I saw for Kolban comes out penalty answer.
No,
Umuntu that I saw a massive game changer being Ramos.
Yes.
Yes.
Ramos.
But uqala ngaye when we're watching the game, yeah, uqala ngaye, yeah.
Yeah, Untamak was good. He was good, but he wasn't outstanding. Like Nangamle no 2.5 or for like he's okay. He did okay.
Like average.
Like Mamela, kola hlobo lokuba John masithe ngohlobo ne ohlobo ekuthiwa bakushota ngalo for France during the World Cup. Thulana yenzileyo ngoku. For instance, if
not one
for instance, la no Antoine Dupont if bikhonelo uzobona mahluko. That's why it's about to last stardom he would have at least.
But I also think those guys actually coexist in order to actually have those great performances because they understand each other so well.
But here he was. Clark Mamet, quarter final. If when Antoine Dupont him that game would have been that close.
But also, what if the corner?
Okay.
But now the editor to the Nutita Gomba. If umzekelo bekukhona phayana on tarmac instead of Jalibert, class quarter final.
Well, they probably would have won it. They probably would have won it.
Maybe as we win, but it was going to be harder for us to win because Landwana yona is out of the structure. Landwana iyafana no Sasha. Landwana iyakwazi uvela iqonde futhi seklo ndihlap.
Yes, 100%. But now okay, Clark game where they needed him to step up because there's a number of frontline players that were injured. They needed him to step up in terms of
and that
is why the city are going to
2.5 years.
12, in fact, I'm really 2.5 years. Man, 2.5 because benile lukhulu man kuye.
Ingxaki mna unbe mindset yenobana hayi man khabe ngoku. I'm an pass mna basics in that I always rate them more than as I always say individual brilliance but when expect to pull up what so you understand so them jokana mna ba uye wakwazi ukhaba pha bokora pheno uye wakwazi upasa ngoku uye wakwazi ulupa wadla short ball
Never got that was how immense was he Malcolm Wax how many players
you should be man of the match
imagine ago pa
and nigga 4.5
4.5 players.
Yeah, out of the 5.
So do you think he's regained his form?
Oh yes, he has.
Okay.
Yes, he has. That is the best hooker in the world. Malcolm Marx too when he's at his devastating best.
Yeah, film powerful.
I'm fit out here. Out here, rap fit. That loud in fit. So I'm fit.
4 years.
I don't know. 4.5.
4.5.
If one of them come and do 4 is short.
He brought kahene kamenya kodwa yayidlala 8th mainland ene kamenya wathi mayodlala hook
his first test cap why fumana khani kunme
hayi uma kamenya wayicela lisese case ba mayidlala hook mayele lodlala
Baha when Malcolm Marx how many players
4 players
4 players
Malcolm Marx
nekhabu
kaloku mna ingxaki lento ningamnikela half is that as I try ikoro ngesitayizeni fanele yakhe Maga control.
Oh, from the mall, ne?
Speaking of underestimates, how many players for he came off the bench Kula hybrid role yakhe.
Yeah, I know that 4 years.
That was?
Yeah, 3.5 to 4. Now I have to agree. But I'm coming with 3.5 would be because of Ikash. I'm figuring out.
That doesn't invite out Andre.
Andre had given him a 3.5.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
You spoke about him earlier just now. Maybe Finesse moment of the week for when. Kobas how many PS for his performance yesterday?
I didn't bring it for fit lunch. Didn't get it for PS because he has a
Even 4.5, not at all.
Ne?
His kicking was on point.
Yes.
The way he controlled the game, he knew when to slow it down. He knew when to bend and leg.
And the light is hot on his heels, but you know, ends on Rasi in terms of if I didn't about na relationship, or don't need a sense of security. I think more. I think more. He's safe and secure in what he's doing. He's just paying back younger, that the faith that has been given to him. You know, he's just restoring it back because the way that he's playing, man, it's
he's always trying to fight.
but the thing is, this grandma from Fetu will be feisty. This grandma will want to cheeky. So those things happen. Like you can't just. I mean, for me. In fact,
Rukato was supposed to play first team.
You want that from Iskram of Sako. You want someone who's going to be niggly out there because so come la wati Eddie Jones or Eddie Jones, mate. What's Eddie Jones? I mean, what he wanted to build in England is that England were like too meek. They don't have that sense of arrogance in it, but we can you need those sort of players. This is how good in the
Pharaoh.
China. I don't care whether Israel is a watch from
Light is a prop, Sinclair. Yeah, he had that concept.
I understand.
Yeah.
He had that positive attitude. Like it's because they are called young ox.
I think it was the World Cup final.
Ahead of you, why not? The final 2019
the final 2019.
which is the final 2019 wagotywa yena apha 2023 ke ngoku kugotywe uKyle Sinclair yo
wait baleni
but it's fine. Last segment of the show, this is called the conversation slicer. So basically what I do here is I'm going to give you 2 players na onike umanqonqo wakho ba emfazweni uya nabani alaba kuwe bahe kudala uthethe namhlanje. Bonnie Barrett, Finn Russell, Ankai Flyaf.
Boten.
Pick on pick.
Fethu mna jonga. As those dlala ku Netflix ba uMessi lo mjita wa kwibhola no wa rugby. Ziye kazikhuphe kule nqobo. Uboten mfethu uGefu.
Uxolweni yeah, it's like that's what I feel like Usasha would be. Uzoba nguFinn Russell. Untswemu mfethu uyadlala rugby.
Hayi man wena
yabo. But yabo. Awungo Boten.
Okay. You know,
I'm that beer, man. That's my beer,
but Finn Russell is actually
no, amazing.
That was Finn Bowden.
I was hoping you were not going to ask me the question. I'd go for Bowden because he knows how to win, man.
Yeah.
He knows how to win. I think because if it's the peak, because if it's the peak Barton Barrett City now, because Mogule is actually coming with what's happening at Bath. It's helping him out a lot in terms of he's playing with a side in Tim Leo and is really good. But peak Barton Barrett, man, is yeah, man, it doesn't get better than that.
Okay. No.
Yeah, no. Peak Baron Vitukum will be, yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy.
But that was Upoten come to guys and Springboks. Now tell them Upoten. Just playing Springboks. What type of game do you
I think Upoten, nobody I go on form club wise. I think about the All Black Jays.
Come to Springboks. Can you go to play slow? Why doesn't jam? One more wins and no Australia like the final. Why am I coming at your take?
Okay, kana makoda does. Player Aspato, Sasha Fine Ngomezulu, okanye uRoman Tamaka.
No, it's Sasha. What's this? Well, yeah, Sasha. Because Roman hasn't really done much at international level.
Thailand
against All Blacks.
What does Sasha do?
John.
What does Sasha do?
Ujay All Blacks last year, what All Blacks, Lonya, what Australia last year, what Australia, Lonya, win a Challenge Cup. Freedom Cup.
Yeah.
Challenge Cup. If Freedom Cup, we win it. We understand.
And he was the catalyst of us getting it back in 2024.
We need Nations Cabin, not 22 years.
Yeah, so now I'd say Sasha out of Vespa, man.
Sengwazo.
Yeah, I say, well, he's already giving us Sasha.
Last one, I got a fullback. Need to take our way two today.
Okay.
Damien McKenzie, or Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah, it would be. I said so.
Actually, yeah, that's a great comparison. That's a great comparison.
Bias in a bit, also, but I think Thomas has just been almost dependable for La Machida.
Guvili was a France.
I was dependable. I was dependable.
No, but listen, he's got a point what he's saying.
No, he had to care so yeah.
Back on it, where we needed him because creativity.
Yeah.
That's why on the blind side you play first receiver, pull out the attack on the wider channel.
So, but I'd go as far as saying, Thomas, not
Damien McKenzie.
Yeah,
Thomas.
Damien, in terms of. Damien, but no further of a back issue. Like just go. Like for me, can I tell you something? What I do with the All Black side? Let's say if I was long cheat, first and foremost, there. Well, what I do there is, you just make sure about your Love, Ruben Love, you get him in there. You get Ruben Love in, but Qala kuyo yonke enye into mna ukuntuphaya noLester Fine nuku can banike some time plus center.
That would be a good thing.
Give them time. Then the other Barrett lighty uJordi dimfaka 15
Will Jordan got 14.
Will Jordan dimfaka 14. Then I've got lighty not even cold ithi bamfethu ukhatha ne ukhona but mna nemrate mfethu lentwana le nanzi becutha national anthem Clark.
Yeah,
that's exceptional. Clark. Yabo for Caleb Clark. Then makubheka ku bench yakho ke ngoku, ne? Unogayo yokhona. Not even go as far as this batshoga. Unogayo Damien McKenzie.
Yo.
So amazing. Because the reason why I put those guys in, bazawo yapha pa. Yes, Quintu Park can cover also a wingini, ne?
Can cover 10.
And then Quintu Lena, yakwazi yazba ulo yakwazi ungena kwa inside center uJordi if kwenzeka enandona ne, and then o13 bakho izabangula out ngubalo Quintu Park na yakwazi umcoverisha uLester ukhona, whoever gets injured between the two uzabakhona up You understand? So for me, I believe Lukba, if you start doing things like that where you have, it starts building a depth where love around as chair, but you want to make sure in Lukba they're getting as much game time as possible, and at the very same time, he finishes Zako, those world class guys, isn't that? Because the finishing your All Blacks has not been on point. I'll tell you that. The last 20, the reason why Lamachita were able to come back, you don't come back against New Zealand.
That's how they would beat us.
Between 2011 and 2015, you don't come back against
That's how they would
New Zealand. Why is it so common by teams to come back?
Argentina.
The team has come back against the All Blacks.
It's All Blacks.
France.
All Blacks would concede 3 points. But we correct one name. But counter run. But correct one name. 5 points.
No, but when I thought it was, you have a point. I was actually having a chat with Unchito about the All Blacks about WhatsApp. Personally, that would be my backline. Because you build a team around that boy, Cam Roygaard. Combine.
I call amazing. Yo, amazing.
Amazing.
Another level.
Amazing.
Another level, Anwana.
Yeah.
Player, I'm
And I can
Joe, the best scrum half in the world right now, Cam Roygaard, watch it.
Yeah, it's that kid.
Gibson Park?
No.
Japan.
But also Gibson Park will win you a game. But in terms of raw talent, this one. Like Gibson Park is one man. But what he's
but it's fine. That was
sure.
Oy vuling a story sa 07 because the story for Ivala for the show.
Last teams got us nigga into Potrex is a kuma like one.
Potrex I balance.
But it was a Saturday fixture.
Potrex I ain't a man be to foot.
But it was Saturday. Potrex
But I scored 4 tries against
that's when I had rugby dreams. You know,
but actually, prior to Lama Klesha way to Potrex, yeah, fixture is serious.
No, apparently Potrex is
like no, like Potrex, like to
win.
It's someone. I'll show you.
No, all I know is that in Potrex it's we can actually step on
193, man. Jogeza fixtures or Griffy. Ujong scores a Potrex compared to his Selpon Queens, no.
Are you basing on that?
No.
Oh.
Traditionally, Potrex get like Aisha. Yeah, into him. Like by wicked.
Well, very much it goes about my Keniki.
Yo, but you must remember at the time.
No, because I went there like Bamba. Oh, my Kenny.
But also you must remember at the time. Yeah, everyone wanted to go to Dale, Selborne, Queens. You understand? So it became obviously go the emergence of new schools like Sterling, Hudson.
I have no partner when I went.
Spelling.
Kalela Tisa.
That was Kaiva and Savunuva something.
It was a mixing of
Something called a Brazil.
So that you know,
you're putting me on the spot right now because I'm trying to think about what's the the only thing I can the only thing I can probably remember is off the top of my head, we'll probably go back to Dale Gwakona is I think the first time round where yeah, and the icing song good. So Gloviki Kwakud is 2005 actually, so 20th
crazy.
So there was the first team, the second team, and then there was a fight in the play. So one of your Krotmans and Zobiza Kama, was one of our old boys. He was injured up. What to blow right? Boom! Hey! So, in the guy then, Uspili Wangena, nqambi fight uthini but i-second team iqumbile yabo
Iqumbile
le nto yokuba kaloku baburiwe yabo kuyamura one of their players
versus who again?
yabona because they prepare the
First team.
Okay,
yabona
sure.
so wait okay so ngakhona anyway so la match the second team ke ngoku a lot of them are co-grade level so into eyenzekayo ngoku xana kuyoculising song wekuculela i-first team asiculi i-grade levels yabo onini phakama inye igrotman apha ibhuda sokisi
Eta socks.
yabo yathi le bra trying to think kakuhle umuntu ba but yaphakama in terms of ba exe emawothini andibona nina nonke into one esithatha serious ningasiqheli kakubi ke siyi first team yenu and ananxani khabani inyani wonke is 565 over skill
Come on, you don't get.
nonke and then here's the thing closing line yakhe wathi futhi enina wathi first team amajina nalesoyika enina samia event wathi cha wonke umuntu akhono yi-1